I have the pleasure of introducing you to one of the baddest motherfuckers in the history of the world.
I'm the deputy chairman of the state of Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton, chairman of the Chicago, Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, a civil rights group in America dedicated to black liberation and stopping police brutality. Chairman Fred Hampton is my personal hero, an advocate not just on black liberation, but an intersectional activist who understood all these issues are combined.
I'm saying something that might wake up some other exploited people and some other oppressed people, and if all these people ever get together, then these pigs that are exploiting us, we'll be able to run them into the lake. That's why they want to get rid of us. People? Because we love the people. Okay, you can put your hands down now. We say all power to all people. We say white power to white people. Brown power to brown people. Yellow power to yellow people. Black power to black people. X power to those that we left out. We say Panther power to the Vanguard Party.
Not just race, but class, gender, sexuality, representing the poor and uplifting the women around him. In 1969, Hampton conducted a meeting condemning sexism, considering it to be completely counter-revolutionary. In 1970, about 40 to 70% of party members were women. The American Democrats can't pull those numbers, and their opponents are the women-hating American Republicans who want to chain women to the kitchen and install breeding chips in their brain. But Fred Hampton has always been great at organizing people. In his youth, Hampton organized a youth group within the NAACP. You may know it for its members such as Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. Fred Hampton's NAACP youth group gained 500 members. That's just in Chicago. In high school, Hampton led walkouts to protest black students' exclusion from homecoming, demanding more black teachers and administrators. At 10 years old, he hosted weekend breakfasts for other children in his neighborhood, and after becoming the chairman of the Chicago Black Panthers, he built up a breakfast program for the poor kids that fed 300 a day, 3,000 a week at its peak, all while sharing school textbooks they might not have been able to afford on subjects like mathematics with them, and educating them about civil rights. In the history classes teaching Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton and the Panthers should be right there next to him. Here's an excerpt from Joshua Bloom and Waldo E. Martin's History of the Panthers, Black Against Empire. Many blacks were poorly served by the healthcare system, and some had never seen a doctor. Despite the healthcare initiatives within the federal government's war on poverty, particularly the newly created neighborhood health centers targeting the needs of inner-city communities, many residents of these communities received only limited, if any, healthcare attention. In response, the party created a series of free medical clinics across the country. These clinics relied on the volunteer services of local doctors, medical students, interns, residents, nurses, and community folk, as well as donated or low-rent clinic space. These public Panther-run clinics, such as those in Berkeley and Cleveland, offered services to all who came, black and non-black alike. In some cities, like Baltimore, the party formed coalitions with like-minded individuals and groups to run free clinics in the community. For the party, the focus was plain and urgent: to address within its limited resources the pressing healthcare concerns of poor black communities that sorely lacked adequate medical facilities and professionals. Clinic services included first aid care, physical examinations, prenatal care, testing for lead poisoning, high blood pressure, and sickle cell anemia. If necessary, clinicians referred patients to specialists for follow-up care. There were at least 11 such clinics, including those in Kansas City, Seattle, and New Haven. Chicago's Spurgeon J. Winters Free Medical Care Center was one of the best-run and most respected Panther health clinics, serving over 2,000 people in its initial 2 months. That Chicago clinic, giving free healthcare to the poor and the needy, was run under the supervision of Fred Hampton's Chicago Panthers. Spurgeon J. Winters, the person who established that clinic that helped so many people, was murdered by police at only 19 years of age. Think about how much good he accomplished at an age many of us have passed or are close to, and just how much we can do too if we try. Chicago is considered one of the most gang-occupied cities in America. In 2011, gang violence was responsible for 61% of homicides in Chicago.
Homicides in Chicago, Illinois have surpassed the death toll of American special forces in Iraq.
Within this violent atmosphere of black Americans fighting each other, Fred Hampton united several gangs into a non-aggression pact. He was curbing gang violence by highlighting how racism and capitalism were the true enemy, by telling them to stand together against the deaths of black youth and the over-policing in the area, while politicians like state attorney and prospective mayor candidate Edward Hanrahan wasted air talking about a war on gangs. Fred Hampton criticized him for his policy really being a war on black youth, while also doing more to curb gang violence than any cop or politician has done in American history.
We work with anybody and form coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism, and we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. If we don't hate the motherfucking white people, we hate the oppressor, whether he be white, black, brown, or yellow. We're gonna fight racism, not with racism, but we're gonna fight with solidarity. We said we're not gonna fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black, and I hate white people. I'm white, and I hate black people. I'm Latin American, and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly, I hate Indians. So we fighting amongst each other.
It's not just black gangs. Fred Hampton spoke with the poor whites marching under a Confederate flag, and the Puerto Rican activist group too, and created what was called the Rainbow Coalition. Over-policing and poverty was something that united Hampton and the Young Patriots organization, and men who might have joined racist organizations and be led astray would see the Young Patriots. They'd see their strong Southern patriotism and Confederate flag. They'd join, be aided by the Young Patriots, helped out of poverty, helped in the Panther clinics and their breakfast programs when they were sick or hungry, and they would become intersectional activists instead.
We're gonna fight racism, not with racism, but we're gonna fight with solidarity.
Fred Hampton organized weekly rallies, he taught political education classes every morning, he helped striking workers and unions, and he had community supervision at the police to prevent over-policing. If you ever feel like you're too young to affect change, then I hope Fred Hampton serves as a guiding light for you. Because everything I just told you about, he achieved before turning 22. I'd like to tell you what he did after, but I can't. For the terrible crime of feeding the poor, aiding a free clinic, organizing gang non-aggression pacts, and speaking out against police brutality, the FBI drugged him and then shot him in the head, executing him point blank without a judge or jury, without trial or any crime committed. He was murdered in 1969 for no crime at the age of 21. The FBI was scared of Fred Hampton and the Panthers. The counterintelligence program, or COINTELPRO, was launched to discredit and delegitimize, and even kill people who fought for civil liberties in America. They began a disinformation campaign to stop Fred Hampton from, feeding children and educating churchgoers on the faults of capitalism. They tapped Fred Hampton's mother's phone. They had an FBI informant named Bill O'Neill rise through the ranks to the head of chapter security and sabotage the breakfast program from within. They arrested Fred Hampton on a false charge of stealing $71 worth of ice cream to distribute to the poor. They released racist cartoons against white people with forged Black Panther branding to alienate white activists from joining the Panthers. The FBI didn't like that gang violence had ended. They'd actually prefer if it continued. So they spread misinformation around to Chicago gangs. They forged letters from the Panthers to break up the non-aggression pact. Not an alliance, not working together in some combined super gang to do violence, but simply a pact that the Panthers organized that kept gang violence down, broken by the FBI for no reason other than to continue their war on poverty that keeps police funding high and civil rights low. They even had the informant Bill O'Neill start an armed conflict between the Panthers and a gang. And this wasn't the only time the FBI instigated violence in Chicago alone. It happened many times, and it happened in many other cities. The FBI, CIA, and American police force are an occupying army trying to maintain white and conservative agendas across the country, whether Democrat or Republican. The state attorney I've mentioned, Edward Hanrahan, and the pro-segregation mayor at the time, Richard J. Delaney, were both Democrats and heavily involved in the civil rights abuses of Chicago. The Chicago police force stopped Panthers on bogus traffic charges until everybody except for the FBI informant had lost their license. So, the FBI's informant Bill O'Neill was the only one who drove Fred Hampton around everywhere. He always knew where he was was always able to report his whereabouts and his activity to the FBI. There's no proof William O'Neill was given explosives by the FBI and tried to convince Fred Hampton to commit a bombing so the FBI could have a credible reason to arrest him, but it's my belief that the scene in the movie adaptation of Fred Hampton's murder, Judas and the Black Messiah, in which exactly this happens, is entirely possible, considering the FBI has done this before, with proof of them arming school shooters to get easy arrests, and did the exact same thing to the Seattle Black Panther Party when they gave explosives to the FBI informant Alfred Burnett. Don't get mistaken thinking this is the FBI stopping some out-of-control terrorist organization. As with the times they armed people with explosives to make movements look bad, and executed their opponents without trial or jury, they are more of an occupying army or a secret police trying to control dissidents. The FBI now acknowledges COINTELPRO as an illegal black mark on their history, for all the good that does, decades after the atrocious things they did, like sending letters to Martin Luther King blackmailing him to kill himself, or, executing Chairman Fred Hampton. I already mentioned the fact the police and FBI in Chicago created racist political cartoons and published them as if they were made by the Panthers to alienate white activists and disincentivize them from supporting Hampton. But it's even more crazy when you consider this is something he simply never would have done.
We don't hate the motherfucking white people, we hate the oppressor, whether he be white, black, brown, or yellow. We're going to fight racism, not racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity.
Fred Hampton was a firm supporter of solidarity between all oppressed groups, against racism of any group and against oppressors of any skin color. COINTELPRO is described by the American Senate as following: if COINTELPRO had been a short-lived aberration, the thorny problems of motivation, techniques, and control presented might be safely relegated to history. However, COINTELPRO existed for years on an ad hoc basis before the formal programs were instituted, and more significantly, COINTELPRO-type activities may continue today under the rubric of investigation. COINTELPRO is completely illegal to every legislative body investigating after its existence. COINTELPRO wasn't a group of rogue, racist FBI agents either, but a directly planned program by the FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, the first FBI director. The FBI has, since its inception, been focused and built on a platform of racism and control. But hey, at least in America you're free, unlike the secret police those communists in the Soviet Union had to put up with at the time. I mean, America's secret police is fine because, those secrets are, quote, national security threats. So that makes it okay, doesn't it? And unmarked black vans? Unmarked police cars? Those have nothing to do with secret police. That's just what it's what a democracy does. The special agent in charge of San Francisco's COINTELPRO wrote to Hoover that in his investigation he had found the Panthers were primarily feeding breakfast to children and, agitating for radical political change second, not really posing a threat to national security. Unfortunately, the American system relies on the poverty of the black youth to justify over-policing when they turn to stealing when their needs aren't met, or to groom the youth into the military, to give their life, or murder foreigners to turn their life around for the better. Groomed by promises of free college and escaping the ghetto, Hoover responded to this secret police who'd wondered if the over-policing of food programs was necessary, and Hoover responded to this by saying that this agent's career would be in jeopardy, essentially blackmailing him, if he didn't supply evidence that the Black Panther Party was, quote, a violence-prone organization seeking to overthrow the government by revolutionary means. If the FBI was here to protect people and not a racist white hegemony and capitalist power, why would they be so terrified of a man who fed children and advocated for peace and justice? The night of the murder itself, December 4th, 1969. It began when Bill O'Neill gave the FBI a map of the property so they could plan a no-knock raid. After Hampton gave a speech at a local church about civil rights, the FBI informant drove him home, and during dinner, he poisoned Fred Hampton's drink with barbiturates. At 4 a.m., with no knocks, the police busted down the door, murdered the first man they saw, and fired over 100 shots. It is, in America, your legal right to possess a firearm for self-defense, and many conservatives in America believe the right to shoot an intruder is their God-given right. Yet, where is the backlash for the man standing guard at the door with the shotgun on his lap he hadn't even touched, being murdered on the spot without trial, executed for being an American gun owner? This man was Mark Clark. He was 22, and he died. After shooting many Panthers and giving contradictory demands, like asking them to stand with their hands in the air after shooting them in the legs a dozen times with their automatic weapons, they made their way to Fred Hampton's room. He wouldn't wake up. Fellow Panthers described him as moving in slow motion as they tried to wake him to help him escape.
The next thing I remember was someone in our room shaking Chairman Fred. Chairman, wake up, wake up.
Police entered the room and shot Hampton in the shoulder. This is an exchange recorded by a Panther named Harold Bell.
That's Fred Hampton. Is he dead? Bring him out. He's barely alive. He'll make it.
The police entered the room safely to escort Hampton's girlfriend Akua Njeri with guns pointed at her 8.5 months pregnant belly. If Fred Hampton had really posed a threat, if he had a gun pointed at the door ready to kill any cop that entered, the police wouldn't have come in to escort Hampton's girlfriend out. So, despite being shot in the shoulder, making him unable to use a weapon, and despite having no weapon in his hand, apart from a pistol near his unusable disabled arm, and him also being unconscious, despite all these ways it was impossible for him to fight back, the police didn't bring him in to be arrested, to be held on trial by a jury, or democratically sentenced. Completely illegally, completely undemocratically, and completely unethically, the police shot him twice in the head at point-blank range, killing him instantly. Akua Njeri heard the police say,
Plaster was flying off the wall. You could smell the cordite from the gunshot. If you've ever been under gunfire, 5 minutes is 5 hours. To you, it seems like forever. The shooting started back again. Then another voice unfamiliar to me said, he's good and dead now. I knew they were talking about Chairman Fred.
You may remember the man I mentioned earlier, State Attorney Edward Hanrahan, who Hampton had criticized about using war on gang rhetoric to enable a war on black youth and a war on poverty. This man, Edward Hanrahan, was the one who organized the raid, who donated his police force to the FBI organizers. Police went on to claim this was a shootout, but it was really a shoot-in. 90 to 99 shots were fired by the police, and only one was ever fired by the Panthers. It was after Mark Clark was murdered in the door. The shotgun nearby him fell to the ground and it discharged. He hadn't even touched it.
This doorway here, which is absent of a door, the door has been removed and is now in possession of our defense attorney, and it's going to be used in our case to prove that what happened here was nothing more than murder.
Up on my toes, point my revolver, look in again, cover my face, and fire several shots at the girl.
Our arrest team, while conducting a legal and very normal invasion of a house, as one usually does, was attacked by violent and extremely vicious Panthers. We defended ourselves accordingly. In fact, I praise our assault team, not just for the assault and the murder, but for the remarkable constraint. As police chief of press conferences, I would have gone fucking psycho on those black hordes, but these guys showed bravery, direct quote, and professional discipline Also a direct quote, for not killing all the Panthers, only murdering 2 men, one sitting in a chair and the other for feeding poor children. I mean, if it was me, as a rabidly racist pig, I would have killed them all. Seriously, that's what the police started self-congratulating themselves for. Good job to us for not murdering a bunch of innocent people pointlessly. Here's a bunch of pictures of gunshots by the Panthers. These are definitely real. They're not our bullet holes we're pretending are theirs. And all the times the Panthers show doors and walls with bullets in them, we're going to claim they're fake, and we're going to claim they took them to a lumber shot to punch them in. Oh, hold on. We got a question? What's that? You want to investigate us? Alright, don't even bother. I'm gonna do it. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I just investigated myself, and I concluded that we used 100% lawful means to overcome this vicious Panther assault. Awesome!
We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You got to...
Chairman Fred Hampton is my personal hero. When I learned about him a few years ago, it completely inspired me. Of course, he didn't do anything alone. Nothing would be possible without the amazing contributions of Panthers and volunteers and the people. But someone just 21 years old was responsible for all these amazing things. It inspired me to volunteer, to put my time towards helping my city's socialist party. It inspired me to attend rallies, to teach myself, educate myself politically, and to mature my socialist and anti-racist beliefs. Fred Hampton says he lives for the people because he loves the people, and to me that puts so much into perspective. I grew up bullied and lonely, and as an annoying teenager, I held a grudge against what I saw as normal people. I wanted to be alone, and in my worst moments, I wanted to be dead. But Fred Hampton changed that for me. I have to live for the people because I love the people. I find all these little happinesses in my life when I get someone's dropped purse on the bus for them, when I can hold a door open for someone, when I can give up my seat for a pregnant woman, when I can protest and rally and advocate for my fellow humans. My love for the people, for you, for everybody, fills me with hope and motivation and energy. Fred Hampton says, if you dare to struggle, you dare to win. But if you don't dare struggle, then you don't deserve to win. Sometimes people tell me that what I'm doing is impossible, that what I'm doing at the Palestine protests or the Albanese sit-in or the socialist electoral campaign doesn't make any difference. But when I get discouraged, I think about what Chairman Fred would say, that as long as I dare to struggle, I can win. If I don't even try, how can we ever win? And when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words out my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep saying that. You have to say that you are a proletariat, that you are the people, that you are not the pig. I am a revolutionary.